The accountability line. There's a moment that separates real leaders from people who just have titles. It's not when they give a great speech. It's not when they make the tough call. It's not even when they succeed. It's when something goes wrong, and they say two words that most people will never say. My fault. Not our fault. Not the team's fault. Not circumstances beyond our control. My fault. That's where leadership actually begins. And if you can't do that, you're not a leader. You're just someone in charge. And there's a massive difference. Let me tell you why accountability is the foundation of everything leadership is supposed to be. Because here's what most people get wrong. They think leadership is about having authority, having people report to you, being the one who makes decisions. Wrong. Leadership is about being the person who takes responsibility when those decisions don't work out, when the plan fails, when the team falls short, when things go sideways. Anyone can take credit when things go well. Your 5-year-old nephew can do that. Look what I built. Real leadership shows up when things fall apart. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're in charge, everything that happens under your watch is your responsibility. Not in a technically speaking way, in a real, actual, this is on me way. Your team missed the deadline? Your fault. You either didn't give them what they needed, didn't communicate clearly, or didn't notice they were struggling. Your employee made a mistake? Your fault. You hired them, trained them, or failed to catch the problem before it became critical. The project failed? Your fault. Even if it was sabotaged, even if circumstances changed, even if you did everything right, you're still the one accountable. That sounds harsh. It sounds unfair. And you know what? Sometimes it is unfair. But that's what you signed up for when you decided to lead. Let's look at where this principle is literally life and death. The military. In the military, there's a concept that gets drilled into every leader from day one. Officers eat last. It's not just about food. It's about priority. The leader's needs come last. The team's needs come first. And when something goes wrong on your watch, you face the consequences first. There's a story about a Navy SEAL commander, won't name names, but this is documented, whose team took casualties during a mission. Not because of anything the team did wrong. Intel was bad. Circumstances changed. Things that were genuinely beyond anyone's control. When he had to brief the families and the command structure, you know what he said? I failed them. Not the mission was compromised. Not we had bad intel. Not fog of war. I failed them. He took full accountability for something that wasn't technically his fault, because that's what leaders do. They absorb the blame so their team doesn't have to carry it alone. And here's what happened next. His remaining team would have followed him anywhere, because they knew, truly knew, that if they put their lives in his hands, he would never throw them under the bus to save himself. That's the accountability line. You cross it, and people will trust you with everything. You don't cross it, and you're just someone barking orders. Now let's move to business, where the stakes are different, but the principle is identical. You've probably heard of Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. When he took over in 2014, Microsoft was struggling. They'd missed mobile, missed cloud computing initially. The company culture was toxic. Internal competition, finger-pointing, blame games. One of the first things Nadella did? He sent an email to the entire company, and in it, he said something that shocked people. I take responsibility for where we are. Not the previous leadership, not market conditions, not, we all need to do better. He took personal accountability for problems that existed before he even had the job. And then he did something even more powerful. He changed Microsoft's entire culture around one principle: learn it all instead of know it all. What does that mean? It means admitting you don't know everything, admitting mistakes, taking accountability when you're wrong, creating a culture where people can fail, learn, and grow, because the leader has modeled that behavior from the top. The result? Microsoft's value has increased by over $1 trillion under his leadership. Not because he had all the answers, because he had the accountability. Sports gives us some of the clearest examples because everything's public. Win or lose, everyone sees it. Look at any great coach. Doesn't matter the sport. After a loss, listen to how they talk. The great ones, they take the blame. I didn't prepare them well enough. I made the wrong call. I should have seen that coming. The mediocre ones, they deflect. Players didn't execute. We got unlucky. Refs made bad calls. Notice the difference? Great leaders put themselves between their team and criticism. They're the shield. They absorb the heat so their team can focus on getting better, not defending themselves. There's a reason players will run through walls for certain coaches and quit on others. It's not about tactics or strategy. Those matter, but they're not the deciding factor. It's about trust. And trust only exists when accountability exists first. So if accountability is this powerful, why don't more people do it? Because it's terrifying. When you take accountability, you're vulnerable. You're admitting you're not perfect. You're opening yourself up to judgment. You're accepting that you might lose respect, lose authority, lose your position. At least, that's what people think will happen. Here's what actually happens. The opposite. When you genuinely take accountability, not the fake corporate mistakes were made, garbage, but real, honest, I messed up, and here's how I'm fixing it. People respect you more, not less, because everyone already knows when someone screwed up. They're not stupid. They see it. And when you try to deflect or blame others, they see that too, and they lose trust immediately. But when you own it, when you stand up and say, my fault, my responsibility, here's what I'm doing differently, people think, that's someone I can trust. That's someone who won't throw me under the bus. That's someone worth following. Here's the paradox of leadership accountability. The more you take accountability for things, the less you actually get blamed. Sounds backwards, right? But think about it. When a leader consistently owns their mistakes, takes responsibility, and works to fix things, people stop looking to blame them because they're already doing it themselves. There's no satisfaction in blaming someone who's already holding themselves accountable. But when a leader deflects, makes excuses, blames others, now people are actively looking for ways to hold them accountable. Because someone has to. And if the leader won't do it, the team will. You've seen this in your own life. The person who immediately owns up to a mistake, you move on. You focus on solutions. The person who denies, deflects, and blames, you can't let it go. You need them to admit it. You need acknowledgement. Leadership accountability isn't about taking punishment. It's about ending the blame game so everyone can focus on getting better. So, how do you actually do this? How do you become someone who leads with accountability? First, stop the excuses immediately. Catch yourself every time you start to explain why something wasn't your fault. Notice the impulse, then choose differently. This doesn't mean you can't explain context or circumstances. It means you lead with, I'm responsible, before you explain anything else. Second, make it specific. Don't just say, I take responsibility. Say what you're responsible for and what you're doing about it. I'm responsible for the missed deadline because I didn't check in with the team midweek. Going forward, I'm implementing a Wednesday progress review. That's accountability with action. That's leadership. Third, do it publicly when it matters. Private accountability is important, but public accountability, taking responsibility in front of the team, in front of your boss, in front of whoever needs to hear it, that's what builds real trust. Not to make a show of it, but to model the behavior you want from everyone else. Fourth, separate accountability from shame. Taking responsibility doesn't mean beating yourself up. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're human, you made a mistake, and you're fixing it. Leaders who confuse accountability with shame become paralyzed. They can't admit mistakes because they think it means they're worthless. That's not leadership. That's insecurity. Real accountability says, I messed up, I'm fixing it, and I'm still capable. Here's why this matters beyond just you. When you lead with accountability, you create permission for everyone else to do the same. Your team stops hiding mistakes. They bring problems to you early, instead of hoping they'll go away. They focus on solutions instead of blame. Your organization becomes faster, smarter, more innovative, because people aren't spending energy covering their tracks. They're spending energy getting better. And you? You become the kind of leader people actually want to follow. Not because you have authority, because you've earned trust. Leadership doesn't start with a title. It doesn't start with authority or power or control. It starts the moment you're willing to say, my fault, when you could say literally anything else. That's the accountability line. Cross it, and you become someone worth following. So here's my challenge. The next time something goes wrong, and something will go wrong, notice your first instinct. Is it to explain, to defend, to point out all the reasons it's not really your fault? Catch that instinct and choose accountability instead. Say my responsibility before you say anything else. Then focus on solutions. Do that consistently, and you won't need to convince anyone you're a leader. They'll already know.